Hello, Horror Fanatics. I'm Frank.
And I'm Jen, and we welcome you to our weekly podcast,
Oh, the Horror! Thank you for joining us as we dive deep into all things horror, supernatural, scary, and downright creepy.
If you like what you hear, rate, review, and subscribe to add us to your regular rotation of podcasts.
You can also submit any ideas, comments, and suggestions to our email address at oth@seriouslydecent.com. And you can check out our back catalog, social media links, bios, etc. at ohthehorrorpodcast.com. Here we are. First and foremost, happy birthday, lover.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's the creative director's Gotcha Day.
It is.
It is.
We call it Gotcha Day because this is the day we got Dino.
It sure is.
Dean Winchester, creative director. There he is, smiling.
Super excited.
He knows he's on the show.
He's like, it is my Gotcha Day.
It is my Gotcha Day. Yeah.
Hey, you got some words for your fans?
Nothing?
Okay.
I'm going to lick
All right.
myself.
I'm resting.
Yeah, that was the run I was making with birthdays where I was knocking them out of the park, and then I realized with him, I'm done.
Yeah.
I can't top this.
Can't beat that. No.
I'm just going to step back and say that was my body of work. I did good. Because the day I got the tickets for Wicked was fun.
Yes.
And of course, you have your way of saying things that just, I don't think a lot of people are familiar with it. But so we're walking into the theater, and there's the spot before you get to the seats, kind of just the standing area, and where like
the
lobby cocktail lounge type thing, and we're walking through there, and it's just tons of people. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, did you say it? No, you said it on the way out.
I said it on the way out.
Yeah, so we go into the show. We had great seats.
We did.
And it was a great show.
It was.
That was
amazing.
That was one of those things that I walked in. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this just for the team. I know this is a big deal for you.
Yeah.
But I'm probably not going to like it.
Yeah. You're like, but I'm just going to take one for the team.
And I've seen shows. I've seen a lot of good ones. I've seen a lot of bad ones. You know.
Yes.
But I didn't think I'd have any kind of connection to it. I didn't think it'd grab me in any way. And I don't know if I liked it more than you, because I had such a... But I'd look and you were beaming the whole time. You were leaning forward. I don't think your back hit the chair once.
No, it didn't.
And just
when you walked in, the whole theater just had this green glow of light, and I was like, this is gonna be a good time.
Yeah, and it was really, really good. The performers were amazing.
Amazing.
And the music was great. I mean, I actually listen to the soundtrack from time to time.
I do too.
And, but I remember on the way out, and you were like, I don't know how you're going to top this one for my birthday. And everyone just looks, not at her, but at me. It's all these ladies. They look at me and they're laughing.
All ushers.
Hysterical.
And they're all like, tee.
Oh, yeah. No, there was nothing bashful about it. They were laughing their asses off. Like, yeah, dude, you... good luck with that one. And I remember my response. I'm like, well, I got a year to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those were, that was fun. That was a lot of fun.
It was.
Unlike the terrible times we have as a couple. I love you dearly.
I love you too.
I wouldn't want to do this with anyone else. So... Laurie Cabot.
Yes, Salem's Witch.
Episode 65, I believe.
Yes.
We're cranking along.
I'm going to trust in your numbers because I'm numbering mine season 2.
I've been wrong.
Season 2, this is episode 11.
I've been wrong on a couple of them.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
We're here.
Laurie Cabot, Salem's Witch.
Yes.
Their very own.
Yes. I have a couple sources. Daughters of Darkness, 7 Badass Women of Salem, Laurie Cabot, the official witch of Salem, by Kristen Harris. Unsolved Mysteries, their wiki, Laurie Cabot, and an article from the Globe
Yeah.
I believe that's out of Boston.
Yes.
She brought magic to Salem. She has mixed feelings about it, by Billy Baker.
Boston Globe.
From October 26, 2017.
I read that one. That was a good read.
It was a good read.
Yeah. I have the wiki on her.
Mm-hmm.
LaurieCabot.com, her very own site.
Yeah, I went to her site too, but I didn't use any information.
Enchanted Living Magazine. They did a thing called a Salem Legend.
She is a Salem legend.
And it was probably one of the Boston Globe ones that you did, but
yeah,
there was a couple of them. I read both of them. But yeah, really interesting story. I actually learned something from this that I didn't know before.
And what is that?
That the shop, the Crow's Nest. The Crow's Nest?
Yes, was her shop.
Was her shop.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Is it Crow's
It was a
Nest
clever
or Crowhaven?
Crowhaven, sorry.
Yeah, no, it
Before
was,
people go nuts. It's Crowhaven, damn it.
It was her shop, and then she sold it.
Well, I'm saying from an outsider coming in.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was years ago when we went to Salem.
Mm-hmm.
That's a nifty piece of marketing, that shop.
Yes.
Because it looks as old as the ages.
Yes.
And you would think that thing was there since the witch trials, and it has that look about it. Mm-hmm. And people talk about it like it's that old when it is not. We'll get into that.
Yes.
But that was the one thing I learned about that. I didn't learn anything else. No, just kidding.
Yeah. She did have another store. I think it was down by the wharf. Mm-hmm. But she, well, let's get into it.
Yeah.
So whenever you talk about Salem and their witch history, and if you're not referencing the witch trials of 1692, you almost always start with, or you have a reference to, Laurie Cabot.
Yeah, she's hard to avoid.
She's been a well-known figure in Salem since the 70s and is known for starting a pilgrimage of practitioners of modern-day witchcraft to Salem when she, quote-unquote, came out of the cauldron around 1970.
Yeah.
Hundreds, if not thousands, of practicing witches follow her form of craft, and the Cabot witches are among some of Salem's practicing elite to this day. So, how does a young, solitary witch come to be the official witch of Salem? Let's get into it.
Yeah.
Today, you can take classes with Laurie Cabot, who just turned 89, by the way, through the Cabot School of Witchcraft. Classes with Laurie are usually held at Enchanted. It's a store on Salem's Pickering Wharf, where her and her daughter, Penny, sell some of their handmade spellcraft in the form of potions, charms, and broomsticks. But even a witch such as Laurie has had a beginning. She was born Mercedes Elizabeth Kiersey in Wewoka, Oklahoma on March 6th, 1933. She spent her childhood living in California before moving to New England as a teenager. While living in Boston, she developed an interest in studying the occult and witchcraft and fostered this while reading in the Boston Public Library. Before moving to Salem, Laurie was living in the north end of Boston. She was a struggling divorcee, raising 2 children on her own. And though it was the late 60s by this time, Laurie was still hesitant to outwardly declare that she was a witch. Though she was well known for dressing the part. Like, everyone would call her a witch, but she never actually came out.
Yeah.
According to an interview with Laurie in the Boston Globe from 2017, she wore black robes, pentagram necklaces, but by then it was the late 60s and people just thought she was a hippie. Eventually, she felt that it would be better if she moved to somewhere more suburban and happened to find an apartment on Salem's historic Chestnut Street. So when did the world come to know Laurie Cabot as the leader of the witchcraft renaissance? According to the Globe article by Baker, it all started with, go figure, a black cat named Molly Boo. One day, Molly, one of Laurie's 2 cats, got stuck 50 feet up in a tree, despite the other cat trying to coax it back down. Laurie tried calling local police, only to be told to just wait, and that the cat would eventually come down. After 3 days, Molly Boo was still stuck in the tree, and Laurie had had enough. So, in true badass fashion, she called the Salem News and said to the person who answered the phone, "My cat is stuck in a tree. I'm a witch. That cat is my familiar, and I want someone to come get my cat out of my tree."
See, you're out now.
Yes. Needless to say, the attention was almost immediate. Not only did several rescue cars show up to get Molly Boo out of the tree, but so did a photographer and the mayor. With all the media attention, very soon after the kitty incident, Laurie was able to open the city's very first witch shop called The Witch Shop on 100 Derby Street. A year later, that shop moved to Essex Street and was renamed Crowhaven Corner. It still operates under different ownership and is known for being Salem's longest operating witch shop. She opened a third location in the mid-90s known as The Cat, the Crow, and the Crown on Pickering Wharf, but later renamed it The Official Witch Shop as a nod to her title. Laurie got the title, The Official Witch of Salem, in 1977 from then-Governor Michael Dukakis as a nod to her work with dyslexic children, but that isn't the only reason. Laurie Cabot has been a world-renowned psychic for many years and is known for helping to solve several police cases. In 1991, her visions led to solving the missing persons case in Salem involving a local artist named Martha Brailsford and her neighbor, Tom Maimone. After going sailing together, Tom had come home alone and reported that Martha had been thrown overboard by a rogue wave. Police searched for and could not find Martha, so they called in Salem's official witch for help. Using the name, location, and birth of Martha, Laurie was able to gain a vision and stated that Tom had made sexual advances toward Martha and that when she refused, he hit her over the head, tied weights to her waist and an anchor to her feet, and threw her overboard.
So not a rogue wave.
No. So on July 18th, 1991, Hooper Goodwin, who was lobstering off Marblehead, found Brailford's remains tied to an anchor and weighted with a diving belt. She has sustained 5 blows to her skull and jaw. Tom fled, and Laurie was determined to put the creep in jail. She claims to have been able to perform a binding spell on him and stated that she had a vision of him trying to get to Canada. 3 days later, someone spotted a man fitting Tom's description at a small cabin near the border, and police found and arrested him. In 1993, he was found guilty of second-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. He died at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center in Boston in 2017. Whether or not you believe in Laurie's help in the case, she has undoubtedly become a symbol of culture for Salem and forever made her mark on its history.
Yeah. That lobster man, Hooper.
Yeah.
not only was he good at lobstering.
Yeah.
He actually solved murders too.
Well, he found the body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hooper
Goodwin.
How many people do you know have the name Hooper? Personally.
The only time Hooper
is
referenced
you know
to
person.
A name is usually if it's like their last name.
Yeah.
Like Ben Hooper.
Yeah.
And you're like, Hoop!
Yeah.
But to have Hooper as the first name, just Hooper Goodwin.
I think he's pulled like a Sting.
You think?
Like he's just Hooper. There's no
Maybe.
first name, no last name. He's just Hooper. Yeah.
He's the Madonna.
Yeah,
of,
like Sting's Gordon
Shumway.
Yeah, right. Alf. Well, Alf did it too.
Yeah, he did.
Maybe it's something with Gordon.
Maybe.
I wonder if you were to get 100 Gordons in the room and pull them all.
Yeah.
Do they go by one name that's not anything affiliated with Gordon?
So no Gordos.
Gordo.
That doesn't count.
See, that's the thing. I'd only want to be named Gordo if I was Gordy. Gordy. I only want to be named Gordo if I was Gordy, other than Gordon. This got complicated. This got really complicated.
Way complicated.
My head hurts. Hooper. Or Horpo.
Hooper Pooper.
Or Hoary.
No, not Hoary.
Hoary?
No.
Hoary going Horin?
No. That's I don't
right.
like it.
We'll move on. My apologies. I'll just sit here and drink my tea.
So after the opening of Salem's first witch shop, more and more people started practicing modern witchcraft and began to move to Salem, seeing it as a place of acceptance for the practice. A lot of those practitioners also started lucrative business practices themselves, and there are all sorts of opinions about all of them, according to who you're speaking with and getting their thoughts. Some practice Wicca, and others their own form of the craft, which has a spectrum as varied and wide as many other world religions. And as of 1997, more than 2,500 residents of Salem claim to be practicing witches, and since then, of course, there are many more. Despite the business side and despite the opinions of the masses, Laurie has always maintained that her real goal has been to educate the public about witchcraft and to dispel rumors about the practice. As the author of 6 books and teacher of various classes, including at Harvard, she has done successfully for over 45 years. She still teaches psychic ability and the art and science of witchcraft in Salem at the Enchanted Shop, as mentioned before, as well as still offering her psychic reading services to the public. So her real name is, well, they have Laurie Cabot, but that's not her real name. That's her witch name. All right, so this gets into the witchcraft. She is the high priestess of the Salem Coven. She has noted that they are not associated with evil or anything nefarious. In fact, she has become the center of attention with her apparent psychic powers that have allegedly helped police solve many crimes. So, aside from Martha Brailsford, she also helped solve or assisted with Gail Knowlton's case. Salem, it's not her fault, Laurie Cabot declared. Then she thought for a moment and revised her statement. Okay, it is my fault, she said, referring to what has happened in October to Salem since she arrived nearly 5 decades ago and began the modern witch era in the Witch City. So she essentially is stating because she became Salem's official witch and more witches, but also more and more people interested in the craft started to come to Salem specifically for what is known as their haunted happenings for the month of October.
Yeah.
So in essence, if she hadn't had that incident with Molly Boo, her cat being stuck in the tree, and her outing herself as a witch and Molly Boo as her familiar, it might not have become the craziness that you and I know it to be today. Because honestly, that week leading up to Halloween, there are thousands of people in Salem.
Oh, yeah. No, it's
Essex
a circus.
Street gets shut down.
It's a circus. Yeah.
And it becomes a pedestrian walkway. Now, mind you, this is an actual street that would have cars going down, both sides of it. And it's just wall-to-wall people. So it's it's good times.
See, that's where I hate to pick fun, but I'm going to jump in and do it.
Okay.
If she didn't want to be known, maybe talking to a newspaper and announcing that your familiar is stuck in a tree.
Yeah.
When no one would listen.
Yes.
I think there's a better way to maneuver around that. You know, like the kid next door that's mowing a lawn or something. Yeah. Hey, you want to help me get my cat out?
Yeah.
Call the fire department.
Yeah.
That's kind of the classic thing,
Yeah.
I mean, they have paintings of it. Firemen rescuing cats from trees.
Yep.
So there's that. And I'm not going to try to destroy her character in any of this stuff.
No.
Because we did Wicca before.
Correct.
Which I think Wicca is a good primer into this one, because this is the witch I think that people need to look up to.
Right.
And I say that with all the sensitivity I can find.
Right.
And muster in myself. Now, me as a joker, I got to find the funny odd things, like the guy that was going up to Canada. That's kind of common sense. If you commit a murder, you're going to go up to Canada.
Yeah.
It's only 5 hours away.
Canada or Mexico.
Yeah.
Those are the two places that they go.
Yeah, and Mexico is a lot longer than 5 hours.
Correct.
So, with that being said, yeah, I think the blame it on the cat thing is a little weird to me. I think there was probably some more internal things that's hiding. You know, it's funny when people come out, and I'm not just saying this as like for like a gay or lesbian,
right? Yes.
Trans or being a witch. What's funny is when someone comes out, whether they want to be a dancer or something like that.
Right.
I'm gonna say 1% of the time it's a shock to people.
Yeah.
99% of the time, everybody's like, well, yeah, no, we've known this for years.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with her.
Yeah.
Like, she was hiding being a witch to herself.
Correct.
Not everyone else.
Right, yes.
Because
when you're walking around with a black robe.
No, she's walking the walk. She's talking the talk and all of that. At that time when you're admitting it, and that's where I think the bold statement of contacting the press.
Yes.
That was her saying as loud as she could in that area that she's in.
Here, that I'm a witch.
I'm a witch.
See me.
Now, she only had to prove that to herself.
Correct.
And like I said, I'm saying this with all the sensitivity in the world because she's done some amazing things in Salem.
Yes.
Salem owes all of itself to her.
Yes.
For the most part.
Yes.
I think at some point Salem would be where they are in stature of some kind, but the way they are today as Witch City, you know, it's not Halloween City.
No, it's Witch City.
It's Witch City.
They have a witch on a broom on their taxis, on their fire trucks.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's literally on everything.
It's the mission statement. It's the logo, you know. And it's not hard to avoid.
It is
like
not.
I said, you see it on the taxis.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. And it's awesome. And I think it's solely... I think it would be just in massive error to say it doesn't solely rest on the shoulders of Laurie Cabot or her actions.
Right, yes.
And I think she's been a great stewardess to navigate through there. I don't know the whole story of it, but even just people that have written a lot of works about her and articles, there you have to have some sort of respect for this woman of what she's done with Salem. With that being said, the problem is now Salem's a tourist attraction.
It is.
And what you're going to get is the tourists.
Yes.
You're not going to get the you're going to get the hardcores and you're going to get all that. And even the hardcores, like there's bad witches and bad warlocks and all that stuff that go there. And she said that in articles that, you know, but that's when it's out of your power and it's out of your reign and you can't rein it in and make changes. It's this organism that's grown into something.
Well, it's like that snowball rolling down the hill.
Oh, yeah. Just bigger.
Once it starts rolling, you know, unless it hits something, it's not going to stop.
It's gone.
It's just going to get bigger.
And you see that when you visit Salem.
You do.
You see basically these three groups of people.
Yes.
In my opinion.
Yes.
You have the locals.
Yes.
Which I can identify with because I grew up in a touristy type area.
Don't hassle me. I'm local.
And it's like, she's, you know, thanks for coming here. Thanks for spending your money. It does a lot of things for us, but deep down, we really can't stand you.
Yes.
You know, and
deep down, we would really like you to leave as soon as possible.
So you have the locals.
Yes.
And they're affiliated in a lot of ways with Salem. Some are the full-time witches and that stay there. Others have just found a place there that they like to be in.
Yep.
And they just like everything that Salem encompasses. Then you have the tourists.
Yes.
Which pretty much everyone hates the tourists.
Yes.
Even tourists hate tourists.
Yes.
I grew up in a tourist town. I know all about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, my God.
And then that little line in the middle is the true part of the tourists. There's this two subgroups. It's the Halloweenies.
Yes. That
go for Halloween, they dress up and whatever they want and stuff, and it's cool.
It is.
But then you have the witches that go to visit there.
Yes.
And it's their tourist destination.
Yes.
And they have a whole separate bit about it. And I think that's what makes Salem work, is that they figured out how to manage all of that without offending the other group.
Yes.
Because, like, staying at Hawthorne Hotel, for example.
Yes.
The days before, you know, like, they have they have the Halloween ball, which is like the big draw.
Yes. And the day before they have their ball, the Salem witches have their ball.
Yeah, their ball. And then there's the whole dinner where they reverse the meals. And that's
what is that called?
Oh, it's
they do that, like, isn't that the Sunday?
It's not the Day of the Dead. I forget the term of it, and I'm upset that because normally I would spit it out like nothing. Yeah. But so there's like the hardcores, that are in that with the dinner, and basically what they do is they reverse the meal, so they're eating dinner first, and then I think they go on to breakfast. I think that's what they do. If someone knows all about it, email us at oth@seriouslydecent.com, and I'm gonna clear it up on the next episode. Right. But yeah, so then you had those serious ones. You had the witches ball that are the serious into semi-serious into sort of serious. Yes. And then you had the Halloween thing. But they managed to make it work.
They do.
I think what makes Salem unique in that way is they've done a great job of not judging anyone.
They really don't.
And that's where the LGBT community thrives there.
They do.
They do, and I think that's a beautiful thing of Salem is they don't really have...
They embrace everyone.
Yeah,
like,
which is funny because hundreds of years ago,
I know.
it was exactly
the
opposite. It was,
but I think that's part of it.
But that's the love that I have of Salem.
Right.
Being a history nut. Because I remember the first time I went there, it was like, wow, there's all this cool stuff here.
There's truly
all these cool people.
They've embraced... You
got a chick that's pulling a pig in a wagon. In a wagon. Yeah. And and she's awesome. She's there every year.
She is.
I talk to her all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, how you doing?
Yep.
And then you go 2 steps down and there's a dude with a mask playing the saxophone. He's got the red cape. If you've been there at Salem, everybody knows he is.
He's there. Yeah. You've got Michael Myers walking around,
just
skulking
aimlessly
around.
Yeah.
Every now and again, he peeks out from an alley.
And you got Bora the Witch.
I think Bora is... Quite honestly,
I think Bora shares
the staple.
Well,
I think
and that's
Bora and Laurie kind of almost have.
Well,
equal
I think
platforms.
Laurie built Salem to where it is, like as far as got the momentum going. And Bora's just pushing the ball, like go fucker, But yeah, it's just all of this, and then you'll look 3 steps over, and here's this guy in like a golf shirt, wearing like a golf outfit. On vacation, quote unquote, with his family. Yeah. And he's just sitting there smiling, looking at everything and handing money to, the buskers and stuff like that. And it's just like, it's one of those weird scenes because like history, Frank, says hundreds of years ago,
this would not be
This would have never happened. Like, how does a town, a village, pull a 180 like this?
Yeah.
And stay low in the news, and that's the beauty of it. It's kind of it's the gem that no one knows about, because like.
But if you know, you know.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And I think it's really that's where, like I said, you really got to just hand it to Laurie Cabot.
Yeah.
That she created, because I could see where she would look and say, "Oh, this is a monstrosity." I could see that. I could see that looking like, why did I do it? Not all the time, but I could see where she'd have those moments.
She's very conflicted, especially with regard to Halloween being associated with like the slasher films.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm still not sure what a guy with an axe in his head and blood dripping down his face has to do with witchcraft, because I think she associates witchcraft with Halloween, because honestly, that is one of their days of power. It's Samhain.
Yeah.
And I think the issue is that witchcraft has been associated with Halloween. And that's why she's conflicted.
No, I don't think it's Halloween. I think witchcraft, this goes back into Wicca with where I mentioned on the last episode that the problem Wicca has is they have that one tenet.
Yeah.
And I made that a point because I did some future research on this. And the reason I made that point is because Laurie Cabot has 13 Cabot Code of Ethics.
Yeah.
And this is where I launch into all the respect for them. Do you mind me going through those now?
No, go, please.
So number 1 is the Wiccan rule.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they abide by the threefold law of return.
Yep.
And it harm none, do what ye will.
Yes.
But we talked about if that's all you go through,
if that's all you're
it's
hanging
hard
your
to
hat
steer
on.
the ship, you know, and we had the whole ship analogy. So if you didn't listen to the previous episode, very, very Reader's Digest version, we talked about a couple of ships, and you had one that has this clearly identified, there's 10 rules.
There's a hierarchy.
There's a hierarchy, you know, and that creates a functioning ship.
Because everybody knows what their job is.
Yeah. Then you have one that just kind of has one rule, and that's it.
But with a bunch of people on a boat.
And a bunch of people.
Yeah.
It's obviously not going to be a good functioning ship. 2, treat others in our tradition as you would like to be treated. We are witch sisters and brothers.
Yes.
3, we recognize a Cabot witch of any degree as a part of our tradition, which even goes back against kind of the Wiccan bit.
Yeah.
With the hardcore Wiccan saying, no, you can only come in, and when you come in, you have to be
initiated
at this stage
in.
and all this stuff. Yeah. Where she's just like, you know what? You're in. Number 4, integrity, discipline, and respect must be self-evident in all our affairs as we represent our tradition. 5, we practice our craft according to Hermetic laws, and we are accountable to the God, Goddess, all entity, so to speak. 6, we do not accept any outside contributions or any influences that would undermine our authority. We are a sovereign tradition. As such, we do not take part in the inner circles of other traditions, which again, we're our own thing.
Yep.
And I have just a tremendous amount of respect for this. Number 7, each Cabot witch is sovereign and accepts the responsibility that this incurs.
Yep.
So here it is, you know, not only do we expect this type of behavior, but you're responsible for your actions.
Behavior.
Good ones, bad ones. All of it. Number 8, we are committed to our way of life and firmly grounded in the science of our magic. We express our tradition as an art, a science, and a religion. Number 9, we respect and adhere to the wishes of our council elders, which again, just a great thing to instill in people. Our tradition, this is number 10, our tradition has an interest in issues such as ecology, hunger, and human rights. We seek to heal and protect our Mother Earth and better the lives of the humans and animals around us through magical and charitable means. 11, our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion.
Yes.
My mind just screamed for joy hearing this, because this should be a policy that most people, if not all people, should follow, whether you're a business, a person. You know, we do not proselytize. We do seek to educate anyone that does seek knowledge from us.
Right.
So again, this attraction rather than promotion.
You need to come to us. If
you
want to
come
know,
to us, we'll tell you everything you need to know, but we're not going to pull you out. We're not going to seek you out. We're not going to try to find you. And that's, and talk about someone who goes through the walk with that. You could go to Salem for 4 years straight on Halloween and have no idea who Laurie Cabot is.
Correct.
It's possible.
Yes.
It's not, and it's highly possible.
Yes.
And I think that really just shows that she's the real thing in that regard.
She is.
And I just have an enormous amount of respect for her for that. Number 12, we place principles before personalities. We abstain from gossip and other behaviors that would undermine our brothers and sisters or our tradition. Our actions reinforce for the good of all.
Yes.
And then 13, we do not charge money for taking healing cases, but may charge for any type of psychic consulting to the public as a reader. Example being tarot readings or something like that.
Yes. Yes.
See, in Wicca, when we were talking about just the one rule, the threefold.
Yes.
And it harm none, do what he will.
Right.
It's kind of 2 rules, but
yes,
we'll just throw it as one. It left all that room, and that's what I was talking about in the previous episode, where you have all this room and it's not definable.
Right.
And what you're going to get is what she's upset about.
Yes.
Is you're going to get these witches and warlocks and,
yes,
you name it.
You're going to get a bunch of people bastardizing witchcraft.
Exactly. And that's where I could see her hanging her head on it.
Yeah.
More than anything. The slasher films and all that stuff, I honestly, it's the same thing as Little Miss Riding Hood dressing like a tramp for Halloween.
Right.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
I love seeing the approaches that women have towards Halloween versus men. It's so funny. And there's parallels in between, where and everybody has their own kind of way to celebrate Halloween. Some do it in one method, some do it in another.
Right.
Some want to be just scary as all hell.
Yes.
Other people want to be cute.
Yes.
Other
people want to be sexy.
Well, yeah, and the fact is I think that's what Halloween brings, is that I think that's what's cool about Fanatics of Halloween, is that it's this group of like everybody.
Yes.
It's not like just going to say like a oh my God.
I can't help you. I don't know where you were going.
No, like a graphic novel
like a Comic-Con.
Comic-Cons,
Yeah.
Like that, you have everything, but it has to be in the comic realm.
Well, here's the thing, though. There's been a lot of branching out from the actual graphic novel at the cons, and it's kind of just become
it's movies and stuff like that.
It's like fantasy.
And
they've kind of bastardized that, too.
Animes come through on that,
yeah.
too. But that's what I'm saying is inviting all that, instead of just keeping the name, change the name, maybe.
Right.
It's not Comic-Con
just
anymore.
call it a con.
It's just something. Everything con, And
here's your con.
But that's what Halloween is. Halloween is the everything con. That's where I'm getting to with all this. Is you have this big melting pot of ideas of what their version of Halloween is.
Right, yes.
And like I said, Salem is just this weird place where it all fits.
It does.
It fits well.
They've got the haunted houses. They've got, if you're nuts for history, they do have the museums that lay out the history. They've got the walking tours that lay out the history. If you're into witchcraft and the occult, there are literally shops everywhere. And, if you're just into just like, oh, this is a great place, and you just want to do the touristy stuff, they've got stuff for that too.
Yeah.
Or if you're just like, all right, let's just see what this has for me. They've got that, it was like an indoor flea market where they had just all of that shit gathered in that huge store. Looked like it might have been an Army and Navy store or something at one time. And then they had the basement. And when you went in the basement, they had all these little vendors selling all their
it's
little
up by
things.
the House of Seven Gables.
It is.
That way.
So, they literally have something for everyone. But the thing
is like everybody is just cool with each other.
Well, yeah.
And just take away all the things to do there.
Yeah.
Everybody's just nice to each other. People have conversations with other people there that they normally wouldn't have conversations with at all.
It's true.
At all.
Yeah.
And that's where I think Salem really is kind of the map of being inclusive on that type of arena.
They really have. They've nailed it. They've got that dialed down. But
here's the beautiful part of it. Yeah, but here's the beautiful part
cool.
of it. But this is what I'm getting at. It's not on purpose.
No.
Like, it's not this overarching plan. It just somehow worked into that way. I think, and this is history, Frank coming back up, I think that's why you can't forget the tragedies that happened in your past.
In your past, yes.
Because I think if the Salem witch trials never happened,
we would not have Salem as
Salem
we know
would
it
not
today.
be as you know it.
Yeah.
And that's just the truth.
Yeah.
Because
100% correct.
You had this ebb and flow go through
Yes.
where you had these witch trials, you had these massive events take place that shaped this entire village and surrounding areas. And then it maneuvers to a single woman who decides to say, I'm going to let everybody know I'm a witch.
Yeah.
And then basically from there, with her code of ethics, her morals, went through and navigated just doing her thing and trying to, I guess, intersect in with a village and be a part of a village. Everybody wants to be a part of something else, you know.
But her whole point was being a witch doesn't exclude you from being a good person and being able to help your community. Her whole point was, I can be a witch and I can still help.
Yeah.
I can still do these things. I'm not, I'm here.
No, she's a person who helped her community who happens to be a witch.
Correct. Yes.
That's how I look at that whole bit. Her kindness and all of that it's not just traits that a witch could have or should have. It's traits that a human being should have. And she has these traits that are likable amongst many people, including Governor of Massachusetts in the mid-1970s, where they gave her the state's Patriot Award.
Right.
And that award is to honor citizens of the state for public service. It leads to betterment, enrichment, and welfare of Massachusetts. And that's given to civic leaders, distinguished civil servants, community leaders, and others who are just dedicated in a significant way to improving the lives of their fellow citizens and community. Yeah. This came from the governor. It's not like it came from a mayor or a renegade mayor or something like that. Michael Dukakis presented it to her. This award has been given since the early days of the Commonwealth, and the recipient of the award has, amongst other things, the privilege of grazing cows on the Boston Common and wearing a tri-cornered hat. And to the best of their knowledge, Laurie has not done either of them.
Aw, I would have. But
she's her own thing. That's what I'm getting at.
I think I would have dug her even more if she did graze cows on the common.
No, it just, the proclamation was signed by the governor and the treasurer of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and it reads, I proclaim Laurie Cabot the official witch of Salem for her work with children with special needs.
Yes.
And, she's just done so much stuff in response to all that. Yeah, she's really integrated herself in and gave witches a good name.
She did.
And like I said, just reading those code of ethics.
Suck on that, Aleister Crowley.
and just, with the code of ethics, you really see it. And like I said, that's when we were talking about with Wicca, it's like, that's what witchcraft needs. That's what witches need.
True.
And that's where if there's someone that is lost and looking for something and wants to try something different, I say go to Laurie Cabot.
Yeah.
On our show, as an endorsement, just check Laurie Cabot out. Check her website out. She has her books. They're sold out. They're hard to get.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that has to do with the pandemic and, she's just getting older and who knows what's going on with it. But she has her own book of
Shadows.
Book of Shadows.
She does.
And that's something you might want to read into, because I'm always for good role models.
Yes. And
I'm good role models across the spectrum of things. And if you're into this and for some reason you haven't heard of Laurie Cabot, because
you should definitely
it's hard
check
to
her
avoid
out.
if you're getting into it. But if you haven't, check her out, because she, to me, is someone who just makes sense on a morale level.
Yes, she definitely has morality.
And even though she may do things that I disagree with or don't understand,
right,
or don't get,
right,
that's what happens when you have a good set of morals and you have a good set of standards. You can get somebody that may not understand you, but can at least respect you as a nice, kind person.
Right.
And a nice, kind person, I hate to say it, never screams, never yells.
Right.
Never.
Yes.
I'm not saying she's never done that, but her outwardly public life is calm.
Yeah.
Collected.
Yeah. She's not projecting
helps,
craziness.
assisted, and all that stuff.
So she talks about intent and like with regard to Halloween costumes, etc. And she goes, it's a question of intent, which is a huge part of being a witch. Intent is how witches manipulate environmental energy. And when it comes to dressing up for Samhain, the intent of a costume is to cast a spell projecting the kind of person that you want to be for the new year, which is actually a really cool way to look at it.
Yeah.
That your costume is a spell. That you can imbibe it with intents and like, this is how I want to be going into the next year. And she also said we don't allow any devil costumes into our parties.
Yeah.
So if you want to dress up as the she-devil, you're not going to the witch's ball because they're not going to let you in.
Yeah.
And intent is something Cabot is thinking about lately as she looks back through the long lens of all that has happened in Salem since her cat went up the tree. It is late in her story, and she knows this. She has been suffering from some health problems of late. She had a recent bout of dizziness and nausea that lasted for so many weeks that she thought she was ready to go. Turned out that it was an ulcer, and she has been given medications, and that has curbed her symptoms.
Yeah.
But she's proud that she helped transform the city and in some ways became its face. And what a face it is, with an elaborate tattoo on her left cheek and huge black framed glasses, all surrounded by a magnificent mane of black hair ringed with white. She has trouble walking, spends most of her time in her apartment, seated at a dining room table, covered in jewels and deer antlers and potions and other bits and bobs that she and her daughter Penny used to make potions and broomsticks and other tools that are sold at the Enchanted store. Witches from near and far make daily pilgrimages to visit her. One earlier this week arrived carrying a gift of a crystal that was nearly 2 feet long, and she is now at work on her 8th book, a memoir. So, I mean, it's funny because they say that, you know, Salem as we know it all started with a black cat.
Yeah. No, it is funny in that regard.
Yeah.
It really is. But like I said, that's what I think the underlying theme with Salem, you really have to put it on her. You really have to.
You do.
And I think it's a massive disservice or just disrespect to her in not doing so.
Yes.
Like I said, you make it a tourist attraction though, and that brings in all these other elements.
Yeah, and I think that's where she's in that catch-22.
Yeah, and it's, you know, I mean.
But I mean, you can't have one really without the other. Like, you can't have all of these great things because word is going to get out and not think that you're just going to have a bunch of looky-loos.
Yeah.
And that's how I kind of look at the tourists. They're looky-loos.
It's what happens when you become interesting.
And
I'm just going to put it that way.
Interesting, like, they truly, truly are.
No, but I'm just saying as a common trait of being interesting.
Yep.
The moment you become interesting, period, you're going to get, at first, people who are just interested in you.
Yes.
And really, and that's the cool part of being interesting.
Yes.
You know, because you get to stay in that nice little space that you've created for yourself. And not only is it just for yourself now, but you find that there's others that can come in and you can have this very cool space.
Right.
But becoming too interesting is when you start getting people that just come just to check you out.
Yeah.
It's not about what you are or what you're doing. It's just to check you out.
Yeah.
And then that's where it gets tough because some will come to check you out and they either like what you're doing and want to be a part of that, or they like what you're doing and just saying, hey, you do you.
Yeah.
That's all right. Then you got the other group that, man, they're really into what you're doing, but they're jealous. And that's where these other traits come into place where, you know, they're jealous and they might intend to hurt you or they just slander you in the background. And then there's people that just look and completely disagree with what you're doing. And in those, you know, each has those good and bad camps. Yeah. Because even the people that just dislike you, you got one group that's just like, well, I don't agree with fucking any of that, but it's their life and they can do whatever the fuck they want.
Right. Yes.
And then you got the other ones that are like, I don't agree with what they're doing, and they must be stopped.
Yeah.
And that's, you smash all that up together, and that's what you get. And it doesn't matter if it's a town that's celebrating witches,
right,
or if it's a Hall of Fame for a sport,
right,
or, just whatever. You're going to have those kind of big types of groups there.
Yeah.
And there's no avoiding it. It's like, I remember a while back when we first got together and I was making decent money and then going on to verge of making bigger money.
Yes.
And I remember when you were starting your career and what you do. And I told you, I was like, it's going to get weird from now.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to get strange. You're going to have people that are really, really interested in you. And it's not even just friends, it's work associates. Like, but you're going to start seeing the envy more. And it doesn't have anything to do with the money you're making. It's just the success.
Yeah.
The success in your life. And it doesn't mean being famous. It just means like you're doing something that you enjoy.
Right.
You're doing something that you feel that you're causing, or not causing, but adding effect to.
Yeah.
Adding hopefully a good effect to. And it makes you stand up a little taller, makes your shoulders pop out a bit.
Oh,
makes you
100%.
Makes you proud of yourself, and it carries you in a different way that people wouldn't look. And this gets back to what I was saying there, when you become interesting.
Yeah.
And there's people that'll just agree or disagree. But then there's people that just, like, envy is a terrible sin in my regard.
Truly is.
Envy and pride are the two sins, in my opinion, that you need to stay clear away from. And if you have some sort of symptoms of that, you need to remedy that.
Yeah, you got to work on
I don't care whether it's
yeah.
going to church and going to confession and praying, or if
going
it's
to therapy,
or if it's going, to, looking at someone like Cabot and going through and doing the Wicca route, or, witchcraft route, and becoming a witch. You need to get rid of those two traits. Pride and envy are terrible.
Yes.
They'll not only tear you down, but they're going to tear everybody else down around you.
It'll destroy everything
because
around you.
You're going to want to destroy everything around you. And maybe
it's not so much you're going to want to destroy. You're going to inadvertently destroy, because when you are full of the envy and pride, you all of a sudden have blinders and you don't see what's around you. You're just so focused on whatever it is that you're obsessing over that you just aren't seeing the
big
results.
Picture.
Yeah, you're not seeing the results of your actions.
Yeah.
Like, you think you're doing what you got to do to get whatever this is that you're going for.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to at some point realize the huge wake around you.
Well, and that starts with children.
It does.
And children get envious of each other.
Yes.
Or other kids, the siblings.
Stop spoiling your children. They don't need to have every single thing that they ask for.
That's part of it. But the big part of it is just saying, look, you can't be mad that this person has this thing. Because even if you do spoil one kid and you neglect the other.
Yeah.
It's a bad thing to do. I'm not getting around that.
Right.
But the one who's pissed off, it's also a great lesson in life to say you can't have everything.
Correct.
There's going to be people around you that have things that not only is hard for you to get, but probably impossible for you to get.
Correct.
Or impossible for you to have.
Yes.
There's the ugly kid that has to realize that ugly kid is going to have a hard road in front of them.
Right. They're going to have
you
to
can't
work hard
sit
for
there
everything.
and cuddle them and hug them enough to get around it.
No.
Let's just state it for what it is. I got to laugh when everybody says they're the minority of this and they're the minority of that and that they're not getting representation. Nobody gives a shit about ugly people.
They really don't.
They really don't. And I'm one of those people where I see an ugly person and I feel terrible for that person.
Yeah.
Because they've got a hard ass road.
Yeah. They're going to have to fight and scrap and scrape for
because I'll tell you right now,
thing they get.
My personal, it's a bit of humor, but it's true. Maybe no one will think it's funny, but I'd rather be any minority than be ugly and have money.
Yeah.
Because it's just, you're going to have that first judgment all the time. And you got to work extra hard to get, and and there's
What's
no
worse
thanks
is
for it.
if you're ugly and you have money, the people that are surrounding you for
your
the
money. No, exactly.
Yeah.
It's
not you.
Yeah, no, it's a terrible line. It's a terrible line to go through.
Yes.
And I put that stark contrast with it because it's just, yeah, some kids need to know that they're not going to have. My dad taught me that in a huge way. Mm-hmm. You know, he came right at it. It's just like, son, there are things you're not going to be able to do. There's things that you're not going to be able to achieve, and you can't take it personally.
Right.
It's the world. Right. It's existing in the world. Yes. I remember in high school, I was a great tennis player. Mm-hmm. And in my dumb ass mind,
I'm going to Wimbledon.
I'm going to be a professional tennis player. Yeah. That's what I want to be.
Yep.
Not grounded in a real job of anything like that. No. I'm going to be a professional tennis player. Mm-hmm. Before that, it was for the longest time, be a drummer in a rock and roll band that's famous.
Oh, did you ever want to be Batman?
Yeah, I didn't have the capital for that. So but I remember telling my dad this, and my dad lived in Florida at the time. Mm-hmm. Now, I lived in upstate New York, northern New York, where playing tennis outside, where it's free, that was the only place I could play it, because I didn't have the money.
Right.
I didn't grow up in a tennis club or anything.
Right.
So I only had 4 or 5 months of good tennis weather. Mm-hmm. And then I was off, and I'd occasionally go to like the racket club once in a while to play. Mm-hmm. And I was still really good at it. So my dad knew somebody in Nick Bollettieri's school of tennis. Nick Bollettieri taught Andre Agassi how to play tennis, or he was his coach. So my dad's like, why don't you play with some of these guys in here, and if it's something you want to do, then maybe we'll look into it. Mm-hmm. My dad being open-minded about this. My dad already knows how this is going to work out in a 90% fashion.
Right.
And he was right. I went there. I got my clock clobbered.
Right.
Pantsing. And not just by one guy. Tons of people. Yeah. Just like I'm watching just this level. Mm-hmm. And went back and I was like, well, that's it for tennis. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I never picked up the tennis racket again. Like I was done.
Demoralized.
Yeah. Which was a shame because it's a fun sport and all that. Right. Physically, I don't think my body could take any of it. But that's what I think parents need to really kind of concentrate on with their kids, is that they just at least have to handle the idea that something will never be in their grasp. They can pursue it and they can try.
I think you need,
but they need to know that the odds are there in a large way.
You need to be realistic with your kids.
Yeah.
Like the days of you can be anything you want, I think should be over, because it's anything you want, but to a point.
No, you can try to be anything you want.
Right. Yes.
There's nothing stopping you for that.
That's the point. That try word is never in there. These kids are being told they can be whatever they want.
Yeah,
they can do whatever they
even
want.
Even physically be whatever they want.
That's not true. It's not entirely true.
It's true, but it comes with a price. And that's what people have to understand. Like, even like when I said you can try to be anything you want, that comes with a price.
Yes.
You can try to be the best guitarist you can be. That's a great goal.
It is.
But it's also measurable by how much time you put into it.
Yes.
Now, if you live your life by it and you just have a guitar around your neck 8 hours a day and you're playing guitar, there's chances you're going to be a pretty damn good guitar player. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean you're going to be Jimi Hendrix and forever immortalized in time. You might just be Dave Smith, who plays at a bar and an occasional couple big events.
Yeah.
And just has a full-time job doing it.
Yeah.
And that's where I think people need to have these expectations, so to speak. Because you can try to be anything you want.
You can, but I
think the success is a different thing. And then you've got to understand.
Alluding to earlier is Laurie's like tenets essentially is you've got to be a good person. You've got to be a decent person.
Well, and it's funny. I'm wrapping it.
You have accountability. You have to realize
I'm wrapping it all into that. You can try to be anything you want, but you got to have ahead of time what your term of success is in that, or gratification or appreciation in it, and that self-appreciation. because the higher that goal is, the harder it is to climb up there.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's like with famous people and all that. I'll bust on famous people all day, but the sacrifices they made to be famous are extraordinary.
Yeah.
They've given up tons of things.
Mm-hmm.
It's like even like the really good guitar player or musician, someone will sit there and be like, man, I wish I could do that. It's like, you don't have what it takes to do that because it's giving up everything.
Yeah.
It's giving up everything around you. It's giving up your friends. It's giving up all the stuff. So the problem is not only are you going to be up there, but you're going to be alone.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
You're going to be alone because you shut off everything around you to be good at this certain thing.
Yeah.
And that's what people juggle with.
Mm-hmm.
And that's whether you're good at your job.
Yes.
Because even if you commit to your job, you know, I think the tough part of it is like the ones that are going through now, and this gets back to kids and everything, is you have these parents now that want to be great at the career. They want the friends.
Yeah.
They want everything.
Yeah.
And you can't have that
Right.
and raise kids at the same time.
Well, raise fully functioning, well-adjusted
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
You can raise kids, but if it's a feral child, I can't necessarily say, hey, your parenting methods are stellar, because I don't
But this
agree.
is where I go to the full circle with Laurie Cabot. It's like, that's all in those tenets that she has there, where every decision do you make, run through your checklist.
Yep.
Is this going to, is this going to keep me at this state and that state and this state? And if it doesn't, then you've got to reconcile that somehow.
Right. Yeah.
You got to reconcile it with yourself or someone around you. And like I said, I think that's where she's a good role model.
Definitely.
And that a great role model in that regard, where she's done all this stuff for Salem, literally pivoted it on a 180.
Yeah.
But also kept her integrity.
Yep.
And kept her accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Big traits that can be, for one way or another, manipulated or,
right. Yes.
Just
corrupted.
Yeah. And she's steadfast with that and stayed in that
stayed
bit.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. And it goes right from the beginning where, she was a witch. Everyone knew it.
Right.
And I really think that whole thing with the cat was just her way of
coming out.
Yeah. She was the last one out of the room, so to speak, and from there, she was just doing what she felt she was just supposed to do.
Yes.
And it's not that she didn't make any mistakes or anything like that. She's probably made a ton of them.
We're human. We make mistakes.
Yeah, but she's kept herself grounded with these rules for her.
And the thing with mistakes is you learn from them.
Yeah.
And it helps you grow and become a better
person. And those
person.
rules for her helped her with
Yes.
that. And that's why I recommend people check her out in that regard, because I'm always for the person that I think, I like the person that's successful, but also has it together. Mm-hmm. And successful doesn't mean famous. I mean, successful as in like they're doing things that they want to do and accomplish.
Good at what it is they do.
Just a good human being.
Yeah.
And yet they're still standing tall, standing firm in their values. Those are people I admire, and they all have these types of rules.
Yeah.
It might be, for her, it's tenets of witchcraft.
Right, yeah.
For other person, it's the 10 Commandments.
Whatever.
For other person, it's the 12 rules of life.
Yeah.
I mean, they all have got these rules, and they follow them, and it helps them grow into better people.
Yes.
So I was so glad that we did this as an episode, especially right after Wicca.
Yes.
It was a awesome experience for me, because I had learned a ton about a woman that I only vaguely knew of just going to Salem. I knew some things about her, but I didn't know a whole lot of.
Dude, helping solve that murder case, I was like, she'd a bomb.
Yeah, no, she's a very, very interesting individual.
Yeah.
And I hope she can find peace in
she has
everything
peace.
with Salem. No, I'm just saying, because like someone who does a lot of great things like that and has those types of feelings, I mean, you're going to have them regardless, but I hope she just has peace with those before, any kind of, trajectory in her future occurs, because it really is an amazing concept of what has happened in Salem.
Yes.
It's an incredible concept. Yes. And it's one of those things that you can't force.
No.
It's like the marathon.
She just opened the door.
It's like the marathon dance in my high school. They make tons and tons of money on that. And it's because beat last year, last year. And they help all these people. But the thing is the guy that started that dance was my friend's dad, and he went to other schools, and it just didn't work.
Yeah.
Gave him the whole entire recipe. It just didn't work. And that's what makes Salem a unique place in that. And it won't be duplicated in other places. No. So for next week, we're back into our Cult of the Month Club. Mormons.
Yeah. Mormons.
Yeah. Mormons and the Latter-day Saints.
The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Yeah, what do they call that? LDS?
Yeah.
Yeah. Shows how much I've gotten into that.
Yeah.
I've started reading it, but it's
I will say my little LDS friends haven't stopped to see me in a while.
Yeah.
Maybe they gave up on me.
I don't know. I didn't give them a
I hope so.
I didn't give them a reason to come back.
That's true.
Talk about that on the show.
Okay.
I have a way of doing that politely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so Mormons with the Cult of the Month.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a cult that you'd like to know more about or like to hear on the show, please send us an email at oth@seriouslydecent.com or a message through Facebook or Instagram. Give a shout out there on a cult you'd like to hear. And if it's on our list, we'll keep it on there. And if it's not on our list, we'll add it. We'll do some maneuvering.
Yeah.
But
we'll get it on there.
With that being said, thanks for listening to us. Thanks for sticking around.
Mm-hmm.
For us New Yorkers in the northern areas.
I don't want to talk about it.
We're just hang tight. The warm weather's coming, even though there's snow everywhere.
And the warm weather will come, and snow will be behind it, because that's just a thing that happens.
Yeah. Well, it's like a good idea. Build it, it'll come.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So, rule number 1.
No Ouija boards.
Number 2.
No dolls.
3.
No capes.
Number 4.
No blood rituals.
5.
No cults, satanic or otherwise.
6.
No apathy. You need to act to help enact a positive change in this world. It can be done.
Mm-hmm. And last but not least,
don't let the black-eyed children in.
Don't do it.
No. Don't give them ketchup. Don't give them an apple. Don't give them anything that they're asking for, honestly.
Give them the front side of your door.
Yeah.
Just slam the door.
Just go, okay, bye.
Yeah.
Close the door.
There's you and your words.
You can keep saying your words, but I'm going to shut the door.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Excellent. Thanks for listening, folks. We love you dearly, our horror fanatics.
Yep.
And with that being said, have a wonderful day, a lovely week.
And make good choices.
Take care.